All right, ready for try two?
Yeah, let's do it.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to a disease-riddled version of the Commando cast. I'm Andrew.
And I'm Mike, and today we're going to be talking about Covert-19.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Commando cast. So, just to be clear, neither Mike nor I have anything that we know of. We are just taking precautions like everybody's supposed to.
Right.
So today's topic, I guess we're going to go through a couple things, but first one really is, what is this whole pandemic, lockdown, everything doing to the game? I mean, aside from the obvious of people can't really roll dice together, right?
That's the biggest impact, by the way,
Yeah.
is that we have this new set that is supposed to be new and shiny, and we can't play it. They're like, here's your toys now. Go put them in the closet. You can't play them anymore.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So, I mean, do you think once this is all over, whenever that may be, right? When all this is over, are people going to run out to roll dice or?
I think our group, like our people, will run out and roll dice. I think there's still a lot of pent up desire to play. Not a lot of our local group is big into TTS. For most of us, we haven't really played these cards at all. So I think we will have a lot of desire to play. But I have a feeling, that the overall interest in the game is really low because there's now, as of a few days ago, there's literally nothing to play for. Like.
Yeah, yeah. So, and then we'll go into that in a sec with Worlds being canceled, right? But, or sorry, delayed. So, yeah, I guess what I've been noticing as well is even video counts views of gameplay has been down in the last probably 10 days or so. Now, I was originally correlating that to the fact that I had draft games on, and some people just don't care because draft is just bad.
Draft is terrible.
It's just bad.
Yeah. There's a reason why I get my cards and drop almost every time we draft.
Yeah, I mean draft's fine and it provides a challenge and it's something different and it's fun to go do, but then move on, right? Plus the number of mistakes is huge because everybody's playing with new stuff and they're not as familiar with it, and the internet is a little brutal sometimes.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, I assume that those comments kind of go up even though we're drafting, and the understanding should be that we don't know everything at that point.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think you know how it is. The majority of the community, I think, understands that, and then it only takes one or two people to poop on the sidewalk, right? So,
yeah.
So,
Right.
yeah. Anyway, so I had attributed it to the drafts, but we have normal gameplay vids going up now, and we're not getting the normal volume. So, which kind of goes counterintuitive because I expect everybody's at home, they're bored. But I've also noticed it, even on our best frenemies chat with those guys up north, that's way less active than it was when we were actually at work. So is it just that I mean, seriously, right? So it's just now that people are working from home, they're too busy video gaming to waste time at work by chatting. I mean, is that it?
Right. Yeah. I just think it's over, man. The set isn't very good. Hot take, set's not very good. It's not very exciting, and we've been staring at these cards. I mean, we've been staring at images of these cards for since November. It was a botched release, and I think it's hurting the release now. I'd be curious to see what the sales numbers are. I assume there was an initial burst of pre-orders, and then I bet there are retailers with products sitting out right now. It would surprise me if that was not the case.
Right. Well, but you may have had a lot of Gone Guy, for example. They ordered heavy because they didn't expect this to be a large run, right? So just because they have stuff sitting out doesn't necessarily mean that that's a mistake.
True. Granted.
Yeah. So I don't know there. I mean, and I would imagine that, quite frankly, they probably just don't care what their sales look like.
Right.
So, yeah, that's interesting. I don't know. All right, so you brought it up. So Worlds has been delayed.
Yes.
I don't think that comes as a surprise to anybody given what was going on. I I think now that most governments and everything have stuff shut down through, like, for example, last night our governor of Oregon here announced that school would be shut down until April 27th or 28th.
Yeah.
So at this point, it's not absurd to have that early May discussion. It's not absurd, but it was 5 days ago. So I think we were still expecting it and just kind of figured that they'd sit on it. But yeah, so we got that. What was it? 2 days ago.
Yeah, and there was a lot. I think a lot of hope in the air, like that it was still going to happen. But I think those people that had kind of seen the trends going they weren't getting any more lax with precautions. They were only getting more and more heavy with them. So it does not surprise me. In fact, FFG, if I read their article properly or correctly, all of their organized events for the next 2 months are kaput. And that caught up not only the Destiny World Championship, but Legion. There was a Keyforge, a big Keyforge event, an Armada World Championship. Yeah, there a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff got caught up in it.
Yeah, but I mean, to be fair, all those other ones were happening at conventions, so that wasn't FFG's call.
Correct.
So, yeah.
Is it possible that they had an opportunity to get out of the Destiny worlds and they were just like, whoo, dodged a bullet?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I mean, and now, I mean, maybe it makes it harder for them because now they have to go and make up for it, or they have to store all those extra promos they were going to throw at us for an extra couple months or whatever, right? But
right, if they're smart, they just send all that crap to the stores. Like that's totally. I mean,
yeah, I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if they do have a Worlds. They may or may not, but you do. I mean, you do have to admit, like, this whole COVID-19 thing is like a godsend to FFG, right? Because every date that every date that they miss for the next 2 years, they're just like, oh yeah, it wasn't us. That was totally COVID, right?
COVID.
Like, we had our stuff together. It was COVID, right?
Yeah.
For like
for
the next 2 years.
Dream.
So.
Very true.
So, anyway, you're breaking up pretty bad. Sorry, buddy. But
that's all right.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah. So do you think that they do commit on their promise and finish it? Like have a Worlds?
As far as Worlds, yeah, I think they ultimately reschedule Worlds. It probably is a moneymaker. Like even if they do it at their event center, if they have 250 people, I don't see how they don't make money selling beer. And I mean, they're going to have probably 10 or 12 employees and then volunteers. And I don't see how they don't make money. So I definitely think they reschedule it. And probably for the fall. It's probably for the best anyway. Like as far as the get more hype, although this ticket's sold out, I guess you can't get any more hypey. But maybe they open it up more, given more time to plan. They're.
Yeah, I don't know if they're going to open up more, but there's probably going to be a lot of people just not go and cancel. So it'll probably depend on what their own tickets look like. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I definitely think that the people that, because the tickets sold out so fast, the people that got them are super hype. So if they do it again, I think it'll still have the same turnout. I don't doubt that at all. I think the problem is when you have a string of failures. And again, I'm not blaming them for canceling this event, by the way. I'm not saying that. But when you have a string of misses, product releases, Worlds, you can go back to 2019. We're supposed to have 2 store championships. All of these misses back to back to back to back, they lead to an end of a game, or they continue the end of a game. So any momentum they might have had and hype for excitement, they lost. And they don't have any skin in the game at this point. Like I assume they don't care. As far as keeping the game successful, but for those people that are interested in the continuing success of the game, it is hurtful even to them.
Oh yeah, definitely, because now they have to either pump the brakes longer, or just start releasing and then have Wild Horizons get dumped on them, right. Or because I do still think Wild Horizons will come at this point now. Like I mean, we were all making jokes about it anyway. But I think at this point, like, there's no way it's coming during the summer.
Yeah, no.
So
I can't even imagine. Like, the only way Wild Horizons is possibly going to make a summer is if it's already here. Like if it's sitting at FFG headquarters, then it's here. But anything other than that, we're probably looking at maybe, I mean, maybe even next year. I mean, before we see it.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I kind of, I mean, you and I talked about this on a previous cast. I kind of suspect that it's already made. Otherwise, why are they doing this, right? So
Right. What's the point?
maybe there is no impact because, I mean, they're not going to go out and throw more money at it just because, right?
Yeah, they do. I mean, they do have the assets, and they can recover some with selling the kits to the stores. I'm sure they're probably losing. I mean, I can't imagine they're able to recoup enough cost for the how what it takes to pack it, to ship it, to I mean, even the organization alone, like someone has to go through and make sure that all the dice match all the cards, right? I mean, that's time and money. So I assume they're going to lose a little bit of money, but if they've already printed some of this, or they've already sunk hours into R&D, recouping some money in kits from a store is probably a good way to at least minimize that loss.
Yeah, I mean, but again, the amount of man hours that they put into it, especially because they've already had their guys splitting games, like that's drops in a bucket compared to the commit. So I think that this is already printed, or they've already paid somebody to do it and they can't get their money back or something.
That's probably more the case, right? Yeah, they would love to cancel this thing altogether, I'm sure.
So anyway, moving on from that, because I mean, we can talk about Wild Horizons for the next 2 years, right?
We will be.
If there was going to be an RRG update for Worlds, right, to fix whatever problems there were with this set, is that just dead now? And this is a huge if anyway. It's like, if we were going to see a pre-Worlds RRG, is that just gone?
I don't think so. I think that some of the mental energy has already been put into on RRG. The set has been so delayed. Obviously, they would know some of the problems. We've had TTS play on them for the last several months. So I'm assuming that we'll still get an update, an RRG update. I don't think there's this hard deadline anymore, which would have been, we got to get this thing out 3 weeks before Worlds, which would have put us at maybe April 15th. Like, I don't think anything at this point says we'll get an RRG update by April 14th or 15th, but I do believe we will get one.
Yeah. I mean, your point about there not being a rush anymore is valid, but the counter argument to that, it's not really an argument. The counter to that is that nothing's going to change because there's no competitive event, so like there's no more real data they can get. I mean, they didn't have any data anyway, so I guess it was all just based on feelings and hopes and dreams anyway. So,
right.
I mean, I guess then that's reasonable. But
and if there are still groups of people who are giving them feedback somehow, maybe that's how they're collecting the information. I mean, we've been told that they have used players as testers previously, so hopefully there's some data being gathered still from the player base. I mean, and Jeremy, I feel like there is a couple people who still really like this game at FFG. Like I believe that. So hopefully there's some pride that comes in with putting a good finish on a product.
Well, you would have to assume there is from the Jeremy standpoint, right? I mean, nobody wants to be the guy at the helm when the ship crashes. So, like,
right.
If he can guide it on shore,
right.
So, okay. I mean, that's all well and good.
Okay.
All right. So yeah, so actually, that's a good lead in. Let's talk about meta real quick. So Trandoshans obviously are the talk of the town. I have to be honest. I've got them on the table a lot. I don't think they're as. I mean, maybe I'm playing them wrong, but I don't think they're as good as everybody's saying. They definitely can go down.
Yeah, and I mean, you've had a lot more experience with them. I feel like the play of face the enemy, and then removing if you can catch your opponent round one with no removal,
sure,
you can just kill a character. But there's so many decks that do that. Raylo does the same thing.
Right.
If it catches you without removal, it just beats you.
Right, and actually, so that's one of the examples I was going to use, right? So I played it against Raylo this weekend, and I got the dream play, right? You got the first turn, face the enemy, everything, roll at the Death Trooper, you get the setup, you drop it. She's got a Polarity, a Steadfast, and a removal card in her hand, right, and then draws two more. So, like, now you have to choose, do you put the removal away, or do you lose a character?
Right.
Right, and I chose to remove the removal or sorry, leave the removal and
Right.
remove the polarity and steadfast. And I don't know if that was the right call or not, but yeah, then I lost a guy, right? So, or I almost lost a guy. So
Right. I think the Trandoshans deck would probably really prey on a ramp deck that wants to use its health to as a resource so that it can gather resources to build its board, and the Trandoshan trooper deck can go and take the removal and then stop that machine from happening. Whereas Raylo's ability is like their business is killing and business is good, so they go in and like you can't, if you take their removal then they kill you. If you take their kill cards, then they remove your dice. Like that's the big problem with that type of deck is you're all in. And I feel like that deck, its biggest strength is round one, and and then early part of round two when it hasn't lost a character. But as soon as that deck loses a character, it's I mean any deck loses a character loses power, but that one loses a lot of power.
yeah, I mean, you lose 3/5 of your dice, and that deck's not playing a ton of upgrades. Now,
Right.
I do play it slightly different. I play some of the redeploys, but just to try to let that Death Trooper have a fighting chance in the end, right? But yeah,
And
I
do
don't.
you in
Go
your
ahead.
deck you play Riot Shield? I'm assuming because it's money
I
all over the place.
do. I do.
Right.
I do.
I always compare like this type of deck to droids. Like which one's better, right? Which one's better, droids or this 5-die villain? And I feel like it still has to be droids because droids can kill you and generate shields, and it has Riot Shield, right? 5-die villain can kill you. It can play Riot Shield, but it can't generate shields. And it can't ramp at all, right? It has, I think, no, it has money. The Trandoshans have no money sides.
No.
Yeah, so you basically have a single die.
But if you're using, I mean, they may as well though, because if you're in that deck, if you're taking money with the Trandoshan, you're still going to lose.
That's probably true. That's probably true. Yeah. So, but I still feel like the droids is just overall better because it can do both murder you, defend itself, and ramp, which is inherently makes it a better deck. And a Trandoshan can catch a droid player and kill them, but the problem is the droid player can still be combat effective even after it loses a character. Whereas I don't feel like the Trandoshan deck can do that.
Right. Yeah, I mean,
That's with like very little gameplay, by the way.
Yeah, no, I agree. I still think droids is king. Um, I don't really know what else to say there. Like, I still think droids is the best. But I mean, don't get me wrong. Blowing down 3PO round one seems not that hard. I get it. All right, so then the next question is Bane. Bane's real good, like real good, and the only thing keeping Bane in check, I think, is 5-die villain. So.
So would you say that's any hard aggro deck or just 5-die villain?
I mean, maybe droids is the same thing. Maybe. Yeah, maybe droids is the same argument. I don't feel like I don't know. I don't feel like any other decks put Bane in as big of a threat because, like, you look like a Kragan Pyre or a Kragan, like any sort of indirect you generate.
Right.
Helps
Indirect
that
is a
deck.
blank side, right? Against that deck, it's a blank.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I don't know. I mean. Yeah, I don't know. I just think that Trandoshan is the best because you could in theory drop Bane action 2 round 2, right? Or turn 2 round 2.
Yeah. And the problem with Bane is you're playing abilities like Palp does, but Palp inherently gets more life, right? Bane's life ceiling is 13, and Palp's his floor starts at 10, and then after round 2 it's usually 13 like Bane. If you don't kill him at round 2, then at round 3 things get out of hand. Right? He's up to 15, 16. So I feel like any sort of aggro deck, like we were playing, bear in mind that Infinite is a completely different animal, but I was playing an Infinite game against Bane, and I really took apart with Han Chewie, with just lots of guns. Like I just did, I did 6 damage round 1. I effectively removed dice, and then I killed him, at the beginning of round 3. And I did eat a death field. Like
Sure.
I ate a death field, but it was the other person left with Bane could do nothing, against a fully loaded Chewbacca or mostly loaded Chewbacca.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that's a advantage to the having the higher health characters actually against Bane, right? Because he starts popping off specials and dealing 2 damage to 8-point characters, and that's a bigger deal than even
Right.
a or even a 4 for 1 on Death Field. That's not that big a deal, right? So
Right.
yeah,
I do like the design. I have to say, I like the design of Bane. I like the idea of Bane. I wonder if maybe he doesn't have enough health. Like, I mean, he has 13. Is he 14 or 13?
he's 14. He's one less than
14.
Vader. Yeah.
He just, I know it shouldn't be that big a deal, but Vader rarely dies round 2, and it looks like Bane is potentially could die round 2 like this, so I don't know. I wonder if there's a play out there where you play defensively for Bane, like you don't just run for the death field. Like maybe you try to play into some Neiman mastery or something, and then build up into that wombo, or maybe you don't even play like. I mean, obviously you play death field, but I mean, like maybe there's a different build for that we haven't discovered yet,
Yeah, I
or
mean,
one die Bane.
well, so I don't know if you watched the videos from Sunday, but Jeff was playing a 1-die Bane with Bib, and it was pretty sexy.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I haven't got a chance to check the videos out. Did you just post those today? Or
Yesterday.
History Day? Tuesday? Okay.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
true. Tuesday.
Right, yes.
I
Tuesday,
posted
right,
it
yeah.
Tuesday. Yes. Yeah, that was pretty. That was a pretty nasty little deck, and then he can do all the yellow pop-up help tricks of throwing dangerous maneuvers in and all that
Yeah.
stuff, right?
Yeah,
Which is not
that
bad.
seems like, if you think about, like, Bane's power is in his ability to discount that upgrade. His bonus is that he has pretty good dice. They're weird, but they're pretty good. So I can see there being some utility for what is he's 17 points? Or no,
17, 17. He's 17,
17.
22.
Okay. So, man, there's a lot of stuff that can fit in there. I think there's a lot of I think there's some room in there for 1-die Bane. I'd like to try that out.
Yeah, I mean, his die's pretty good, but I think that's why I like the bib thing is like running a 3-point bib die can in theory get you the Bane die. I mean,
Right.
I realize
Yeah.
you're not always hitting it, but or either that or they're throwing. Like, aren't you okay if they throw removal, even if it's a special? If they remove your bib die, aren't you fine with that?
You totally are fine with that.
Because
It's really genius.
now you have a Shien, right? Like,
Right.
So
Yeah. No.
yeah,
It's funny. I hate bib too, but you're right though. Like if the bib rolls out, hits a money in a special, you're in love, right, with that roll. Like you don't even care. And like you said, if they throw a removal, if they electroshock or anything, those bib dice, you're like, all right, well that's one removal that I'm not going to have to eat on a death field.
right. I mean, I think the only one that's impactful that you're not normally going to see is easy pickings, right? But they pick both
Right.
bib die, which like I think that's a huge advantage of Bane actually is like Bane doesn't get picked a ton, right? I think the
Right.
most
It's
like
not
once he's
pickable.
all tricked out, specials is probably the most common, maybe, right? Maybe melee, but either way, like he's got a bunch of varied dice, so yeah.
His that Bane deck seems to like kind of get really powerful right before he dies. Like, like it's almost like this race for him to get down, the Sith Lord in the death field, and then all of a sudden you define and he blaze like 10 damage indirect across your board, and you're like, oh god, and then you kill him. I think that's probably a balancing aspect of Bane himself is that he does indirect damage mostly. I mean, that's his big trick, right? Is he does indirect on his special, and even Deathfield. Deathfield is the Deathfield special's fantastic.
Yeah, yeah, and that's the one I was talking about earlier with the two across the board, right? But
yeah, that was really good. That card's fantastic. Have you run into any Palp with this? Like, have you seen decks that have run Palp and Deathfield and some of the new tricks?
No, I don't. So Jeff was running a Rainbow Palp. He was using the new Pike, a Battle Droid, and then Palpatine. And that was pretty good. I don't think he was running Deathfield, though. He was just going the old Force Storm tricks. And then Admiral, right? So you can Force Storm an Admiral, which I think is better than Deathfield.
Yeah, no, yeah, absolutely. I love it. Well, it's direct damage, right? I mean, that's kind of the well. I guess Deathfield's direct damage, but it's maxed at 2 per character, yeah. Whereas Deathfield can just really take your opponent's ability to wage war by killing one of their key characters. And I have to say, one of the local players had come to me for the Infinite and was like, "I don't want to play against Palp and Admiral anymore. Can we restrict those 2 cards?" It was so. I mean, it's a very hurtful. It's a nasty combination that is hard to deal with, and it creates a lot of like bad feelings, on the part of the player getting admiraled into Palp with all those dice. So I kind of get it, but I don't think it's unbalanced. Like, you have to do a lot of work to get that in place.
Yeah, I mean, I do get it. Like, rolling in 14 dice twice is obscene, right?
Correct.
But how is it any different than like a combo deck in any other game, right? Like, once you pull it off, you just sit there and take your licks. Like, that's just the way it is.
And I think that comes down to a lot too, like what your enjoyment of the game is. Like, can you see your opponent do something cool and then give them a high five and be like, yeah, that was fun? Or do you have to win every? I mean, do you have to or does losing give you displeasure? And I have those days too, where losing makes me pissed, and then there's days when I'm like, oh, that was fantastic, good job.
Yeah, I mean, in said person's defense, and honestly in my own defense, right? Like, I don't mind losing, but the manner in which I lose, I think, matters, and which is why I go off and on to Magic, right? Like, I'll pop back into Magic, and then there's just this stuff you need. I mean, granted, you don't have to sit there; you can concede, right? But right. We generally don't do that in Destiny, right? So basically, you're just sitting there and you're like, all right, I claimed, and now he's going to take his 17 actions, reset, and then do it again. Like, that does feel pretty bad.
Right, yeah.
And then, yes, someone can make the argument, well, then don't claim. But then, what if you still don't have a removal? Right.
Yeah. I don't claim, but I don't do anything either. So.
Right. So, yeah. So, anyway, my point is I get that. And to be fair, I think that the stuff like that is a lot of what drove people out of Magic and stuff into Destiny as a game.
Right.
So I do kind of get how the Destiny community may be more sensitive on that.
Sure.
And I respect that. And because I'm that way a little bit, right? So,
yeah, I'm glad that Palp. I guess I'm glad that Palp never really had a chance to kind of ruin the game, like when it was ruinable. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think there could have been potentially, like, if the game kept going past this point, and we've talked about this before, like maybe this is a good time, right, for it to go, because they had created so many things that are like. Palp is a design space problem. Every single time you come up with a force ability till the time that card would have rotated out, you're going to have a problem, right? I mean, you're going to have to consider Palp all the time.
Yeah,
forever.
I mean, Palp was going to be, you're spot on. Like, Palp, every single time a new set came out, Palp becomes stronger.
Right.
Right.
And that's one of the issues. Like, we play other games too. Like, Argent Saga is one of those games where, like, they have released things. They have released cards where they're powerful now, and it's almost like they're completely limiting their design capabilities going forward, because now they have these cards they have to consider all the time. And I always think of the mutation, the 002 mutation. Like, that's a card. Anytime you have now any ability where it targets, like, you have to consider this card because it's this totally abusable mechanic.
Sure. Yeah, I get you. Right. I'm getting blown up on Messenger right now.
Me too. We must be in the same one.
Yeah, it's Zach. It's from Dice Failure.
Those guys, jeez.
So we're getting pinged like 9 times. Anyway, live casting, you gotta love it.
Right.
So, yeah, okay. I mean, so what else have you been playing in the meta, aside from that Thrawn deck that likes to roll blanks?
So this is one of those weird things. I haven't had a lot of chance to play it. Like I've played played a little bit of the Boba, and then the Thrawn deck, and then the set we just quit playing. And before the set came out, I was like, I'm not going to play on TTS because I want this set I want the discovery of the set to be available to me for longer. And if we play it on TTS, then there's people they're like 4 months into this meta already, right? And I've played 6 games total. So the problem with that is now that we can't play, like I'm basically in kind of a holding pattern. So I've seen a lot of the 5-die. I've seen a lot and played a little bit of the basically villain vehicle swarm. Where you're basically playing like the old chassis of Jabba, and then you're playing Sentinel Messenger, and then a red character. Like you just fit in a red character because they're both 10. Like so, Krennic's 13, right? I believe he's 10-13, and then also Jabba's 10-13. So they're kind of interchangeable on their die, and then like you can also play some lot. So I've seen some vehicle swarm decks that I think are interesting. I think they still just get blown up by hyper aggro.
Right. Well, you said you liked my mono red version, right? The Krennic Death Trooper Watt.
Yes. I think that's probably, now that I have Krennic. Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate that. Now that I have Krennic,
it's still over here, buddy. You got to come.
I know. Well, maybe we can like do like you could leave it on the sidewalk and I'll come grab it or something. But
I'll leave it in the airlock.
So I'm really looking forward to trying that deck. I think that'd be a lot of fun. I want to
try that deck too. I just need to get my Krennic.
Right. Yeah. And it's funny because I have to fight myself from buying a bunch of cards or trading a bunch of stuff because we are still doing up until the games got canceled. Like we were getting packs, right?
Right.
So Sarah traded me for a Boba. Right, so she traded me a Boba. Like she needed a Boba, I gave her one, and then she immediately opened one, and now she's like, I have a Boba to trade. Right. So there's always this risk involved with like not wanting to over trade or over go buy on eBay because we're opening pack, and I hope that in a month we're gonna be playing games again. Like that's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, I mean we're gonna run out of recorded games for the channel in 6 days, so we gotta have to go something out pretty quick.
Hopefully our toilet paper lasts longer than our recorded games.
Oh jeez. People are so stupid. Collectively.
Next time we record, I'm gonna have all my stacks of toilet paper behind me.
Jeez.
Like I'm gonna put them in so everyone can know that I'm like the king of the apocalypse with my toilet paper throne.
Yeah. All right, Mad Max.
I got my leather chaps on right now.
Well, that's on you. And by definition, all chaps are assless. All right. All right. I think that's about it. I would ask you what you got going on in the world of Destiny this week.
So, just a quick story since it's funny. So, one of our local players dropped into our playgroup Facebook group a couple days ago, like before things got real serious, and was like, "Hey, I know things got canceled, but does anyone want to meet up at a pub? I'll buy the first picture, right?" So, I chimed in, "Hey, can't make it. Sorry. I hope you find somebody." And then one of our friends, like, I am to me on the side, is like, "I know shit is real." When Mike got offered beer to play Destiny and still wouldn't do it. Like that's how you know that things are bad when I hesitated on that because it doesn't take much to get me out of the house to play Destiny.
Yeah, well, the other part of the problem is like everything's closed now. Like,
yeah, we couldn't go to the 649 right now. We couldn't go to Old Chicago. Like, I guess we could go like pick up some pizza and sit in the parking lot and play.
Yeah, as long as you're 6 feet away from each other, I guess. Right? Like, it's like a middle school dance around here.
That's so funny.
Leave space for Jesus.
Right. Well, I hope everyone like. And I'm gonna get a little. I don't want to get. I'm certainly not gonna get political, but calm down. Like it's gonna be okay. We're gonna be fine. I'm actually more concerned with the economic impact at this point than I am with the. And trust me, I don't want anyone to die. I don't want to get anyone sick. Like take social distancing is super important. Like we should be doing all these things, but at the same time, let's be cognizant of what's about to happen to our culture and economy. Like you might be healthy, but you might be living under a bridge too. I mean, so those are things we have to consider. So I hope everyone just calms down and takes time to enjoy themselves. I've been playing a lot of board games, like with my family. Like we played like 12 board games this over the last like 6 days. Like teaching my kids how to play Rallyman, and we played games of Raj of the Ganges, and we played Ticket to. My youngest daughter loves Ticket to Ride, which I love it so much. Oh my god! Just in case she's watching this, make sure she knows. But yeah, take the time to spend time with your family, and nothing says you can't go outside and exercise. That's something we've been doing every day. Is we go out and we walk like an hour every day. We just walk and I would say like I'd love to go to the beach this weekend because if you've ever been to the Oregon coast in the wintertime, there's nobody there. So get out and enjoy the air. If you can, unless you live in North Dakota.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we'll see. I mean, heck, we had snow last week. I don't know what's going on, right?
It was 63 today, and we had snow on Saturday.
Yeah, like
4 days ago.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm with you on the economy thing. Like, I feel real bad for all these people who are either laid off and or effectively laid off because they're servers or they work in the service industry. Like, yeah, the economic impact of this is going to be real.
And I love those. I absolutely love those people. Like I think there is an absolute calling for hospitality. Like it's one of those God-given like talents for people to hour after hour, table after table, like be nice to people and make them feel like they're welcome. And I hate to see the people that we know, you and I know, I've seen us walk into a bar where you go and the people just like know you and they're like, they welcome you and they treat you nice and you treat them nice. And those people are the ones that are getting the most, yeah, those people are the ones that are getting, the most affected right now. Like I'm in the business sector. So right now everything's fine for me, but in 6 months,
Q3.
Right. Yeah, that's the real problem right now. Is everything like the service industry is feeling this at the front end right now, but these people are gonna like run out of money and the jobs are gonna fall out, and then the medium and large sized businesses will start feeling the same effects because people stop being able to buy things like I don't know computers.
Yeah.
Right.
No, I'm not an economics. I mean, I'm no economics pro, which is why I work where I do, but I'm no dummy either. And it's going to be about Q3 that when everybody starts going through their normal Q2 cost-cutting look anyway. Plus, I mean, the reality of the situation is all these companies are doing work-from-home stuff. And like at my factory, we've even, like obviously we need essential people to work the factory, but there's a lot of people working from home. And you can't tell me that all these corporations aren't going to look in 6 months and say, hey, we were able to get relatively the same output on half staff.
Yeah.
You can't tell me that's not going to happen.
The same thing happened in 2007, 2008. Like they cut workforces by 50%, and then like they're like, oh wait, we could make everyone work double, and we still get the same amount of profit. This is great.
It's the American dream, baby.
Yeah, yeah, American dream.
So yeah, I don't know. And then real estate and everything. Anyway, it's not good.
Yeah.
I put up a thing on Facebook a couple days ago, which is risky because very much the hype train is on isolation now, but
right.
I'm putting it at about 10 days to 2 weeks until public opinion changes from hype train to why are we doing this? It doesn't make sense.
Right.
Right. Especially when, well, you have a lot of the schools that are getting shut down and stuff. They're continuing to pay their employees, which is great. But a lot of these restaurants that are closing aren't. So you have, the same government or whatever, right, said, okay, we're going to keep paying our employees who are out of work, but all of you guys aren't allowed to go to work and you don't get paid. I mean, that's civil unrest waiting to happen, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and I don't mean like, fire and brimstone civil
unrest.
No,
you mean like
I am angry because, right? And I've got all this time on my hand to bitch on Facebook, so.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I tell you, my 11-year-old who's been at home for now 7 days, she's already climbing the walls, like, and she's, imagine that times 3 weeks from now. And then you have people who are under the stress of supporting their families, and they can't go anywhere, and
Right.
they're making 60% of what they were making before because they're on unemployment now. Um, anyway, be safe, be smart, calm down, spend money where you can. Seriously, like that's the only way we're going to get out of this is if you spend your money.
Yep. Well, unless you can't, but hey, you got
Right.
well.
Those of you who can spend your money.
So it says the guy who hasn't bought all the singles yet. See, there you go. Support your LGS.
I see what you did there. I'm support my LGS. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So, all right, we just broke. We weren't even talking about Destiny for 15
Right.
minutes, so I guess we're done.
Right. Okay.
All right, so thanks for joining me and being patient while we got this stream all figured out and set up. Do you have anything to add or drop before we get out of here?
No, I just want everyone to keep hope alive and play where you can, and then just remember this will end, and then we'll get to start rolling dice again.
Good advice. All right, buddy. I'll see you when I see you, and if nothing else, go Commando.
Go Commando.
In partnership with We Tabletop, the event directory for tabletop gamers.